Hey guys, good morning. Let's talk. So I've been watching, I had talked about Cassie Thorpe in a previous video. And actually this morning I watched another luxury video from this woman in Malaysia who I unsubscribed because I got upset about the way she talked about some things. Her name is Hello Jen. I will give them credit because they're giving me these ideas. So they both kind of talk about the fashion industry, the bag industry, and luxury bags and the state of luxury, the prices, the quality, the shopping experience, the trends in how people are buying, shopping, the decline, all that stuff. And they're always talking about like how fashion is going down, and it's like people don't want to pay the prices, they'd rather do pre-loved, or they're removing themselves from the luxury space altogether, or they're wondering why luxury is going down, or they're theorizing about why it is, except they're missing a very vital component in my opinion, and it's they don't consider the rise of the super fake. They don't consider the rise of replicas or really good dupes as something that would affect the fashion industry, that would affect the luxury bag industry. And I think, and they don't talk about it because of their personal bias against it. And I think that is a huge flaw in their system of thinking, because if you don't consider it, you're not considering the big picture, you're not considering the whole picture. Because just because people are not affording luxury or refuse to buy luxury doesn't mean that they've left it. They just found a different venue that you are not considering and you refuse to consider because you don't want to push it or expose, like you don't want to encourage it in some way, right? So you're leaving it out, but then your analysis is completely false, based on a false premise or missing. Something is vitally missing. There are people, there's two categories. There's the category of people that would have never shopped luxury anyway, and now they're doing pre-loved or used bags because it's more accessible. So that market is growing with those kind of people who would have never bought luxury from store in the last couple of years. Maybe back in 2000 they did, but they're no longer doing it or whatever. Those same people, there is a contingent of those people that are buying replicas and fakes and whatever, right? So that's totally real. I see it in my everyday life. Like, I have a number of people that I know, friends and family alike, who would have bought luxury or have bought luxury, and as soon as they discovered that replicas and super fakes are attainable and could be found, they are increasingly going in that direction. And this is a fact because I have personally seen it firsthand. And these are not people that are broke and that would have never bought luxury. These people have bought luxury. They have real bags. They have Hermes, they have Chanel, they have everything. And then they realize that there is a good replica market. They're like, give me that site right now. They're super interested because there are certain items that they like, but they may not be necessarily considering them as a serious purchase in the luxury department because there's so much money. So now they have another venue to consider that they would have never considered before. And I think this is a huge miss on these fashion vloggers or bloggers or whatever, because that's a huge market. That the replica market is huge. It is a gigantic industry for both poor and rich alike. Everyone has access to it. Maybe it was harder, years ago to have access to it. And when I say years ago, I mean in the teens or in the 2000s or even before, because it was hard to, find the vendors. It was hard to see it, except maybe on Canal Street, or the streets in Europe where people could buy, sometimes poor quality, or many times poor quality replicas, and they thought that was the industry. They thought the industry was just full of these like really bad quality dupes and replicas where the name or the design is off, like it says Fendo instead of Fendi or something like that. They have that picture in their mind, and they think that that's what it is because they don't bother to do research, because they don't care about that industry. And then they make videos on commentary thinking that they're making an informed conversation about it. And I think that if they're not considering, maybe they are considering it, but they're not talking about it, right? So if they're not considering it, I really believe that we're not getting a full picture here. We're just not. And so, yeah, I just wanted to mention that, because on some level it kind of upsets me that they're aware of the super fake market. Oh shoot, I think I overwent my block because I was so excited. They're aware of it. They just kind of like are not interested in, talking about. It's like they want to pretend it doesn't exist so they don't have to include it in their conversation. And that's just like an issue that is super prevalent because it's taboo, right? It's taboo to a certain extent to talk about this. And so how do they manage this fine line between speaking intelligently about the fashion industry and not including a huge market? Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Also, I think even dupes are getting really good. Just even if they say Fendo instead of Fendi, there's a really good Dior Lady Dior bag. Oh, wait. Can I get here? No, it's Monday. That is missing. It has everything. The look is the same, except like it's missing one of the letters in the dangly chain. And you will only notice, or like the letter is a different letter. It's a Q instead of an O. Something silly like that. But it's so hidden that if you don't look at it closely, you would never tell. And so they're getting a little bit smarter with these dupes as well. So I don't know. I think that is a huge glaring thing that I've noticed lately, and it was kind of in the back of my mind, and I'm finally, I think, coming forward with it. And then also Cassie was talking about, and I mentioned this in another vlog, which you will see. Cassie Thorpe had mentioned that, she's noticing the styles in New York. There's like no logos, and people are wearing like Row and Kate and other very minimalist bags in New York. And yeah, had you gone to Canal Street? If you'd gone to Canal Street and look at what's there available, you would have your answer as to why people are, using these minimalist high-end bags. They don't want to look like their bag was off of Canal Street. So you're not going to see a lot of logos, because people, the first thought that real New Yorkers are going to have, or people that are in the know about this, is that you probably, or maybe there's a good chance that you got it off Canal Street. Any YSL bag, anyone I see on the street wearing a classic YSL bag, I'm thinking there's a 70% chance that that's a Canal Street bag. My first thought is not that it's a real bag. And so people don't want to spend a lot of money on a bag that's going to be automatically thought of as a dupe, like a replica. I think that's the underliner. This is my opinion. This is my conclusion about these things that I'm seeing. I may be wrong. Let me know what you think. If you think there's something else going on as well. But to ignore the super fake industry or the high-end replica industry is a huge mistake. Period. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.